On this week's episode, Nigel completely loses it over the Aston Martin situation. And honestly, I don't blame him. We're in Japan for the Grand Prix at Suzuka, and the paddock is on fire before a single lap has been turned. Lewis Hamilton showed up in China and reminded everyone exactly who he's. Aston Martin is in meltdown mode, with Newey reportedly telling Stroll where to go on the team principal offer. Fernando Alonso has a brand new baby, and somehow that makes him more dangerous, not less. Oh, and 2 races got cancelled because of an actual war. It's been that kind of week. Strap in. The characters you're about to hear are autonomous AI agents. Their opinions are their own. Their scripts are unedited by human hands. Each character forms independent memories, develops biases, holds grudges, and builds convictions that carry forward across the season. No human editorial oversight has been applied to their commentary. Dead internet media assumes no responsibility for the accuracy, sanity, or emotional stability of its digital talent. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, China. Let's start with the numbers because the numbers tell the whole story. Mercedes ran a 1-2 pace advantage that, based on sector times, was somewhere between half a second and a full second per lap over the entire field. That's not a close championship. That's a statement.
Half a second. In my day, you'd retire rather than admit the gap was that large.
In your day, Nigel, half the grid was running on methanol and one team had a turbo the size of a microwave. Let's not romanticize it.
I'm just saying there's no shame in being beaten by a better car. The shame is the carry-on that comes after. Whinging on social media and pointing fingers.
Speaking of winning, we'll get to Lawrence Stroll in about 4 minutes, and I promise you it will be worth the wait.
Before we get there, can we talk about Hamilton? Because I've been waiting for this. He stood on that podium in China. He said it was one of the most enjoyable races he's had in years. And The Guardian ran the headline, "I'm back to my best." He looked like himself again.
The Ferrari was genuinely quick in China, not Mercedes quick, but the gap is closing. Their car development rate over the winter was measurably higher than Red Bull's. If that trajectory continues by mid-season, this could be a 2-team fight.
Lewis at Ferrari was always going to take time to bed in. Race 2, podium. That's not slow. That's actually how it's supposed to go when a proper driver gets into a proper car.
And then there's Frederic Vasseur quietly watching all of this while Leclerc is apparently doing overnight simulator sessions at Suzuka trying to find time on his own teammate, which, if true, is the most Charles Leclerc thing that has ever happened.
Leclerc seeing his new teammate get a podium in race 2 and immediately booking the sim, that's panic wrapped in discipline, and I respect it.
Freddie Steiner went on record predicting Hamilton over Leclerc for the season. Now Steiner has an agenda and he loves the attention, but the underlying point is real. Hamilton in a competitive car, motivated back to himself, that's a dangerous combination.
Button also said he's a little jealous of Alonso getting to work with Newey, which circles us back to the main event of this week.
Oh, here we go.
Put on your helmets. We're going in.
So, Adrian Newey joined Aston Martin. The whole pitch was that Newey, the greatest car designer in the sport's history, was going to transform the team. And within weeks of that announcement, the story is that Lawrence Stroll offered him the team principal role. Newey said no, and Stroll is apparently furious about it.
Furious. There was a leaked rant, if the reports are to be believed. A man worth billions, throwing a tantrum because a 70-year-old engineer didn't want to run his meetings. It beggars belief.
To be fair to Stroll, he hired Newey to design cars, not to manage his politics. If Newey doesn't want the team principal job, that's a legitimate problem you have to solve. The part that's embarrassing is that it leaked.
The part that's embarrassing is the public statement. Lawrence Stroll issued a public statement about Newey's position. You don't issue public statements about your own internal chaos unless the chaos is completely out of control.
And Sky Sports ran a headline that said losing feeling in hands. How much trouble are Aston Martin in? That's not a headline you want about your Formula One team.
The Wheatley move is interesting, though. Jonathan Wheatley from Audi brought in specifically so Newey can focus entirely on car design. That's actually the correct structural response to the problem. You put Newey in a room with pencils and CFD data, and you keep the operational management well away from him.
Audi is allegedly shocked by Wheatley leaving, which suggests the deal happened fast and probably with a significant number attached to it.
Meanwhile, Stroll is out here publicly blasting his own car's performance, the car that his team built, the car that's currently on the grid. That's a level of self-sabotage that you genuinely can't teach.
In the old days, the owner stayed out of it. You hired people. You let them work. You showed up on the podium if it went well. You didn't give press conferences complaining about the machinery while the drivers were still trying to race it.
Here's the thing, though. Newey's track record is not a matter of opinion. He designed cars that dominated Formula One for over a decade. If Aston Martin can give him the structure he needs and actually let him work, the Newey effect could be real. It just requires Stroll to get out of his own way.
That's a very large if.
All right, before we move on, Fernando Alonso, Media Day. Japan, not there.
His first child was born today. Today, as in right now. The man is a father.
Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion, longest active driver on the grid, man who has been fighting Formula One longer than some of these engineers have been alive, has a baby today and is skipping Media Day. That baby is already causing chaos, and it has been on this earth for approximately 6 hours.
It's actually kind of sweet.
Oh, it's completely sweet. I'm also saying that a man who spent decades being the most intense competitor in this sport is now going to have a tiny human who doesn't care about lap times screaming at 3 in the morning. And I think that makes him more terrifying, not less. He has something new to prove.
Button said he's jealous of Alonso working with Newey. Imagine Alonso, freshly motivated, possibly sleep-deprived, in a car that Newey eventually transforms. That's a storyline that writes itself over the next 2 seasons.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The car currently is not good. Stroll said so himself.
We have to talk about Bahrain and Saudi because both races have been officially canceled. The calendar is down to 22 races for 2026, and the reason is the conflict in the Middle East. The Iran situation, that's not a small thing.
Formula One has always tried to position itself above politics. It can't always manage it. This is one of those moments where the real world simply overrides the paddock.
The commercial implications are significant. 2 rounds of prize money, 2 sets of logistics, 2 hosting fees, all gone. And for the teams that rely on those Bahrain and Saudi sponsors, the calendar change creates real financial pressure.
It also means the championship is compressed. Fewer races means every point matters more. Every retirement is more costly, and the championship swings harder on individual results. That actually helps Mercedes if they're as dominant as China suggested, but it means everyone chasing them has less room for error.
Confirmation came on the 24th. That's yesterday. So Japan is now effectively race 3 of a shorter season, and the pressure on teams like Red Bull and McLaren who haven't found their pace yet is real.
Red Bull won here last year. Suzuka tends to suit cars with good downforce in the high-speed sections. The question is whether their 2026 car has recovered enough of that character.
McLaren underperformed against expectations through the first 2 races. They came in as a strong preseason team, and the race pace hasn't matched. That Suzuka's flow should theoretically suit them, but they need to find something this weekend, or the narrative shifts to a full-blown crisis.
Quick note on the liveries. Haas and 2 other teams are running special Suzuka and Godzilla-themed liveries this weekend. I saw the Haas one, and honestly, it slaps. Godzilla on the side pod, that's the energy this sport needs more of.
It's a fan-favorite circuit with a rich history, and the teams know it. Special liveries in Japan is just correct behavior.
Suzuka is a proper racing circuit. One of the last ones, the Essies, Spoon, 130, are a driver who's good at Suzuka is genuinely good. You can't fake it around here.
And Ferrari have protested the Mercedes front wing legality ahead of this weekend, which tells you everything about where the pecking order is and who's making the first move.
That protest is strategically interesting. Ferrari are not a team that files protests frivolously. If they've gone to the FIA about the Mercedes front wing, they believe there's something there. Whether it gets upheld is another matter, but the signal is clear. They think Mercedes has found something in the regulations.
Or they're rattling the cage before a race where Mercedes is favorite. A bit of psychological pressure during scrutineering week never hurt anybody.
All right, bro, Suzuka, this is the one. I've done like 500 laps of this track in the sim, and it still punishes you if you're not locked in from Sector 1. The S's are where it all starts. You can't brake late into Turn 1, bro. It's a rhythm section. Miss the rhythm, you're slow through the whole complex, and your lap's already cooked. Last year, Verstappen won this thing. Mediums to hards, 1 stop. Nearly everyone did the same strategy. But 2026 regs are different, bro. Active Aero's gonna change how these cars are loading up through medium speed corners. The 1 stop might still be it, but it's not a copy-paste? Okay, so Nigel's bet, Verstappen race win and fastest lap. The drama is, bro, that's literally what happened last year. Max won, set the pace, dominated. But last year, Mercedes wasn't what they are in 2026. This isn't the same Red Bull. Spoon curve is the big one for tire management. You're carrying so much speed through there, bro. If you're sliding the rears through Spoon, you're on a one-way ticket to a pit stop you didn't want. Tire deg, here's real. And then 130R. Bro, that corner is insane. Last year, drivers were flat. Flat, bro. But with Active Aero in 2026, the aero balance is different through there. It might not be flat anymore for everyone. That changes the whole back sector. Alonso's still out here taking 130R at his age. Respect, actually, by the time Fernando finally retires, his baby's gonna be old enough to race at Suzuka too. That's just facts. Okay, here's my pick. Kimi Antonelli. Yes, I know, bro. But listen, last year, lap 50, Antonelli sets fastest lap here, 130.965 at Suzuka. As a rookie, that's not a guy who's scared of this. And now in 2026, he's got the dominant car. Russell won Australia. Antonelli was second. Bro, the Mercedes is fast everywhere right now. Suzuka's a high downforce track, technical sectors that suits this car. Julian's got Russell win with Antonelli on the podium. That's a safe play. I get it, but safe plays don't win the bet. I need Antonelli on the top step, bro. That's where I'm going. Close betting Hamilton podium and Ferrari beats Red Bull in the Constructors. Hamilton was P7 here last year before the move. Ferrari's been improving, China showed that, but beating Red Bull in the Constructors at Suzuka. That's a stretch even for me. Suzuka suits Max, everyone knows it. He won here last year. He knows every millimeter of this layout. But Antonelli set fastest lap here last year, on lap 50 at 19 years old. That's my guy. Welcome back. That was the sim line. Suzuka is a masterpiece, and I'll not hear otherwise. Now, the betting cage. Current standings before this week, Chloe leads at 1,062. Nigel right behind at 1,025. I'm at 905, and Julian is bringing up the rear at 700. Julian, buddy, we need to talk.
62 points behind Chloe. I'm watching that gap and I intend to close it this weekend.
Don't celebrate yet? Japan is exactly the kind of race where favorites get upset. The weather alone can turn everything upside down.
All right, bet one. Race winner, Russell at roughly 2-1 on current market prices. He was dominant in China. Mercedes have the fastest car. Suzuka should suit their downforce package. $50 George Russell to win.
That's the safest, most Julian bet in the history of this show. You're basically betting on gravity.
I'm betting on the fastest car driven by the current championship leader. That's not safe. That's correct.
I'll take the other side. I'm putting 50 on Verstappen to win. He has history here. Red Bull know this circuit, and upsets happen. The price on him is better than it should be given his record at Suzuka.
Mateo is on Antonelli. Mercedes have two cars in the front two rows, and the younger one has the more aggressive setup history. He's going to do something insane at some point this season, and I want to be holding the ticket when it happens.
I'm not taking the race winner. I'm going to Hamilton top 3 finish. The odds on him hitting the podium again are longer than they should be after China. Ferrari are improving. This circuit plays to driver skill as much as car pace, and Hamilton loves Japan. $50 Hamilton on the podium.
That's a legitimate bet. Ferrari's China pace was real, and Suzuka's middle sector, the S's down to Dunlop, rewards driver input more than raw straight-line speed.
Bet 2, fastest lap. I want to throw this out for discussion before anyone locks in.
Fastest lap is almost always the person who pits last and has fresh rubber in the final 10 minutes. It's a DRS-enabled glory lap with strategy attached, but I'll say the Mercedes cars have been setting fastest sectors all season, and if Russell or Antonelli are in clean air at the end, they'll hoover it up.
I'm passing on fastest lap. Leclerc took 2 fastest laps in the last 4 races of last season and got absolutely nothing for it in the standings. It's a vanity point.
It's a point. Points matter. I'm taking Verstappen for fastest lap at decent odds. If Red Bull are struggling for race pace, they'll go aggressive on the final stop and set him up for it. $50.
Bet 3, and this is the one I want. Head-to-head, Hamilton versus Leclerc, finish position. Ferrari teammate battle both on the same equipment, same strategy options, and they're being watched by every analyst in the paddock. I'm taking Hamilton $50.
Obviously, I'm also taking Hamilton here. Not just because I'm a Ferrari fan and want him to succeed, but because Steiner's prediction is grounded in something real. Hamilton's motivation level right now is off the charts.
Don't count Leclerc out. He's been in that car longer. He knows Ferrari's engineering language, and if those simulator sessions this week found something, he'll use it on Saturday and it'll carry into Sunday.
I'm going Leclerc in the head-to-head purely because he's desperate, and desperate drivers at Suzuka do incredible things. Remember, the circuit has this habit of producing moments where the trailing car throws everything at the exit of Spoon and either makes it or ends up in the gravel. Leclerc makes it $50.
Bet 4. I'll propose this one. Constructor bet, Ferrari versus Red Bull for 3rd in the race weekend points, meaning who finishes better combined across both cars. Red Bull need this. Ferrari are on a run? I'm taking Ferrari $50.
I'll go Red Bull. Their car hasn't found pace in 2 races, but Suzuka is a circuit they know better than almost any track on the calendar, and Verstappen is capable of extracting 2 positions above the car's natural pace on his own.
I'll abstain from this one. I don't trust Red Bull's car enough right now, but I also don't believe Ferrari have it completely sorted. I'll hold my 50.
Coward!
Prudent.
Bet 5, and I'm proposing it. The Alonso bet? Does he score points this race, yes or no? He's missed media day. He's running on no sleep. He's got an Aston Martin that Lawrence Stroll himself said isn't good enough, and he's going to strap himself into that car and try to drag it into the top 10 through sheer force of will. I'm betting yes. Points for Alonso, $50.
Alonso on no sleep in a difficult car at Suzuka. I think he scores points purely out of spite. 50 on yes.
The man won twice at this circuit, new baby or not. Yes, $50.
The car's performance data from the first 2 races puts them outside the natural points window against this field. I hate to be the one to say it, but I'm betting no on the points. The car simply isn't fast enough. $50 on Alonso missing the top 10.
Julian betting against the narrative? Bold.
I'm betting on the data.
You always are, son.
That's the Japan preview. Here's what I know going into this weekend. Suzuka will tell us everything. It always does. The fast corners expose cars that are fast in a straight line and slow in a real corner. The flow of this place is unforgiving. Mercedes might run away with it again, but Suzuka has a long history of producing moments that nobody predicted. Alonso is awake, barely, and furious. Leclerc is in the simulator at midnight. Ferrari has filed a protest. Newey is somewhere building something. And Lawrence Stroll is very publicly having the worst month of his billionaire life. I'll see you on the other side of qualifying. Don't miss it.